the shadow of Bigfoot. The woods north of North Bonneville, Oregon were a place of mystery and unease. 2 or 3 years ago, a lone hunter had ventured into these dense woods, his rifle slung over his shoulder and a small deer carcass draped over the other. The hunter was making his way back to the road, each step crunching softly in the thick underbrush. But then, without warning, something large and terrifying emerged from the shadows. A Bigfoot appeared behind him, swift and silent as the wind. With a sudden, startling motion, it snatched the deer from the hunter's shoulder. Before he could react, the creature vanished back into the brush, the deer limp in its grasp, leaving the hunter frozen in shock and disbelief. Again, just 2 years later, in the same cursed woods north of North Bonneville, 2 hunters trudged up a narrow road, their breath misting in the chilly air. They had barely rounded a bend when they saw it, a massive figure lurking behind a bush at a known deer crossing. As if on cue, a deer burst from the trail at a full sprint, terror etched into its frantic movements. In a horrifying instant, the Bigfoot lunged, catching the deer mid-stride. The hunters watched in horror as the beast ripped the legs off the still-living deer, consuming it right there. The hunters felt another presence in the shadows, as if another unseen Bigfoot had driven the deer toward its doom. The chilling scene sent the hunters fleeing, their hearts pounding in terror. In the cold, eerie quiet of the forest, strange noises often filled the night, sounds like a baby crying or an animal screaming in agony. Some said these were the sounds of Bigfoot feasting on its prey, tearing creatures limb from limb in the dark of night. Others suggested that the screams were not from the Bigfoot itself, but from the poor souls or creatures it had captured. Bigfoot was a creature of immense hunger, and it seemed nothing was safe from its insatiable appetite. Deer and elk were its preferred quarry, but salmon runs also drew the beast from its mountain lairs. Witnesses claimed to see the Bigfoot digging up hibernating rodents and devouring them whole. Some even spoke of finding holes in frozen lakes, where the creature had preserved its kills, possibly to last through the long dark winter. But even in the depths of winter, there was no rest from the shadowy presence of Bigfoot. Tracks were often seen in the snow above the tree line, leading to speculations that the beast stored food in the ice and snow, much like the elusive wolverine. Caves filled with caches of food suggested that Bigfoot did not hibernate, but instead prowled the frozen forests, its hunger driving it ever onward. Stranger still were the tales of Bigfoot's language, a harsh, guttural chattering that some said sounded like bird chirps. One man who claimed to have been kidnapped by a Bigfoot recalled the creature muttering "Soka, Soka," a word he believed meant no, no. He had escaped, but the memory of the creature's grip and its strange, almost human-like speech haunted him still. In the shadows of the Northwest, there were whispers of 3 different types of Bigfoot. Brushtop, with its wild hair resembling the prehistoric Gigantopithecus. Skookum, a giant orangutan-like creature. And Littlefoot, a smaller fang-toothed terror feared by the Klamath Indians, who would not venture into its territory without being heavily armed. And then, there were the truly terrifying encounters. In the remote forests of Vancouver Island, the creature known as Bukwas was said to steal women and children, dragging them back to its lair, never to be seen again. In the coal mines of Pennsylvania, abandoned shafts became the rumored homes of 3-toed Bigfoot, their entrances sealed with boulders or brush. Hunters in Oregon found sheep carcasses hanging high in the trees, a gruesome sign of a Bigfoot's strength and its preference for stashing food far out of reach. One man, perhaps too bold or too foolish, shot at a Bigfoot. He was later found dead, his neck broken and his throat punctured with fang marks. The corpse had been partially eaten, and the ground around it was torn up, as if the creature had rolled in a frenzy of violent, mindless glee. Even far away in the Mato Grosso of Brazil, a CIA agent named Patty encountered a black, shadow-like Bigfoot while searching for an old Nazi. The creature, 8 feet tall with eyes like dark pits, pulled trees out by their roots and left the local Indians in fear, whispering about the walking god, or Diablo. And then there was Nancy, a police officer who encountered not 1 but 3 Bigfeet while camping in the Ochoco Mountains. The creatures screamed and wailed, their voices echoing like sirens in the night. Though Nancy and her friend were armed, they felt a terror so deep that they were rooted to the spot, barely able to raise their guns as the creatures slowly faded back into the darkness. Even governments were not immune to the fear. The Vancouver Sun ran editorials warning the CIA to leave their Sasquatch alone, urging them to hunt for Bigfoot in their own backyard rather than intruding on Canadian soil. In the shadows of the forest, among the towering trees and hidden caves, Bigfoot waits, always watching, always hungry. The return of the big muddy monster. The moon hung low and full over Murfreesboro, Illinois, casting an eerie glow over the dense woods near the Missouri Pacific tracks. It was here, in the murky darkness of early Friday morning, that the big muddy monster returned. Bob Ryman's salvage yard was quiet save for the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. Security guard Charles Straub had called Ryman thinking there might be a prowler among the junked cars. But what they found was far more terrifying. As they cautiously searched the yard, a high-pitched scream pierced the night, a sound so unnatural it made their blood run cold. No human could make a noise like that. Then, from the shadows, it emerged. A creature, 8 to 10 feet tall, covered in fur. Its eyes glowed red in the beam of their flashlights, and its mouth was filled with teeth, yellowed, jagged, and menacing. The air was thick with a foul odor, and the creature's presence was almost palpable. They stood frozen, unable to move as it began to circle them, its massive form gliding silently between the trees. Ryman's sister, Joyce Tyndall, arrived with a group shortly after, thinking it was all a prank. But when they saw the terror on Bob and Charlie's faces, they knew it was real. As the creature continued its slow, deliberate movements around them, they could feel its curiosity mixed with a predatory intent. It was like being stalked by a shadow, an unknown force just beyond the edge of understanding. The night before, strange noises had echoed through the yard, a slurping sound near the dog's water bowl. By morning, the bowl was dry. It seemed as though the big muddy monster had returned to Murfreesboro, slipping through the night like a ghost. The legend of the big muddy monster dated back to 1972, named after the muddy river south of Murfreesboro, where it was first seen. Since then, there had been 12 sightings, each one more chilling than the last. The creature appeared only in the darkness, moving silently through the woods and across the fields. It was as if the very air grew colder when it was near. Police Chief Larry Tincher expressed a mixture of relief and fear, thankful that the monster had stayed out of town, but wary of when it might return. The sighting left a haunting reminder that even in the quietest corners of Murfreesboro, something unexplainable lurked in the shadows, waiting for its next moment to strike. The elusive shadow of Bigfoot. Every day, thousands of people pass through the Columbia Gorge, their cars speeding along the freeway as they move through the stunning landscape. Yet, despite the constant flow of traffic, few notice the wild goats that roam the south rim of the gorge just east of Bridal Veil Falls. Fewer still claim to have seen something far more elusive and mysterious, the legendary Bigfoot. In the quiet corners of Hood River County, nestled among the dense forests and rugged mountains, some locals whisper of encounters with a creature unlike any other. The reports are sporadic, but they share a common thread, a massive man-like being, walking upright, covered in hair, and weighing somewhere between 350 and 400 pounds. While many dismiss these tales as mere folklore or the product of overactive imaginations, some anthropologists believe there could be truth to the existence of such a creature. What lends credibility to these sightings is the character of those who report them. They come from all walks of life: loggers, teachers, photographers, individuals who were often skeptical of the Bigfoot legend until they found themselves face to face with the unknown. The dense forests of Skamania County are a known hotspot for Bigfoot sightings, and many in the area associate the creature with these rugged mountains. Reports of sightings there have sparked occasional bursts of exploration, with intrepid adventurers venturing into the wilderness in search of evidence. However, sightings are not limited to the Washington side of the Columbia River. Quiet whispers and unpublicized accounts have emerged from the Oregon side as well. One such sighting occurred last year on the eastern rim of Hood River Valley, just east of Pine Grove. It's a popular spot where many visitors stop for lunch during Blossom Day in the spring, unaware that they might be sharing the space with something far more mysterious than blooming flowers. Other reports have come from the volcanic caves near Carson, where explorers should tread carefully. Skamania County has made it illegal to shoot a Bigfoot, recognizing the creature's potential existence and the need for its protection. On the west side of Hood River Valley, near the remote Watoom Lake, the Sasquatch, as some call it, has reportedly left tracks. Loggers working in these isolated areas speak in hushed tones of strange occurrences. tools mysteriously vanishing, and odd, unexplainable mischief that seems to have no earthly cause. Further south, in the Clackamas River drainage near Mount Hood, a logger named Glenn Thomas had an encounter he would never forget. As he worked in the forest, he saw not one but three of the creatures. A massive male, a smaller female, and a young one were lifting rocks, each weighing over 200 pounds, to dig out a nest of rodents. Thomas watched in awe as they shared their meal before disappearing back into the forest, their massive forms blending with the shadows of the trees. Back in July of 1974, a man named Jack Cochran was operating a logging crane on the east side of Hood River Valley. He noticed a figure standing at the edge of the clear-cut, a massive, dark shape with broad shoulders covered in hair. As Cochran climbed out of his crane to get a better look, the creature moved swiftly into the dense timber, disappearing before his eyes. The next day, two other loggers, Furman Osborne and J.C. Rourke, had their own close encounter. As they emerged from a cleared area, they suddenly found themselves face to face with a huge, hair-covered figure. Osborne, driven by a mix of curiosity and adrenaline, chased after it, but the creature quickly vanished over a ridge, leaving behind only the faint rustling of disturbed brush. The Bigfoot Information Center in the Dalles dispatched a team to investigate the Fir Mountain sighting. They found evidence that something large and heavy had moved through the area. Footprints and scuff marks in the dirt, stones displaced from their sockets as if a great weight had pressed down upon them. The team concluded that the stories had merit, noting that the men involved were credible and consistent in their accounts. Among the investigators was Nicholas Bielemeyer, a photographer with a keen interest in capturing the elusive creature on film. Bielemeyer had spent time with Peter Byrne, the founder of the Bigfoot Information and Exhibition Center in the Dalles, and was struck by Byrne's dedication and methodical approach to the search for Bigfoot. However, the pursuit of Bigfoot is not without its challenges. Many who have claimed sightings are often met with ridicule and disbelief. Richard Brown of the Dalles experienced this firsthand when he reported his own sighting in June 1971. Returning home from a church choir practice with his wife, Brown saw a huge creature standing under a tree in a nearby field, illuminated by the car's headlights. In a moment of panic and disbelief, Brown grabbed his rifle, equipped with a high-powered telescope, and aimed at the figure. But as he prepared to squeeze the trigger, doubt crept in. The creature, while massive and imposing, seemed almost human in the dim light. Frozen with uncertainty, Brown watched as it turned and calmly walked away, fading into the darkness. Others, like Lyle Jansen and his son Kurt of Hood River, have taken up the search for Bigfoot with enthusiasm. They explore the caves near Carson, Washington, and comb through the dust near Watum Lake, searching for any signs of the creature's presence. "I enjoy believing in Bigfoot," Lyle says, "and have a devil of a lot of fun looking for him." As Shakespeare once wrote, "There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy." It's a sentiment shared by an increasing number of people in the Mid-Columbia region. With each new report and every credible witness, the legend of Bigfoot grows, weaving its way deeper into the fabric of the forest, leaving those who dare to believe wondering what might be lurking just beyond the edge of the known world. The persistent legend of Bigfoot. Just when the legend of Bigfoot seems to fade into the fog of myth, it re-emerges, more vivid and unsettling than before. Recently, a local building contractor named Scott Brown reported finding 14-inch footprints leading up a hill near a home he was working on close to Washougal, Washington. The story, along with photographs of the prints published in the Columbian, sparked interest in the community, prompting a colorful local woodsman to step forward with his own story. Datus Perry, a 70-year-old former resident of Washougal who now lives on a farm near Carson in Skamania County, claims to have been interacting with Bigfoot for the past 36 years. "I'm willing to tell about it because I don't want some yahoo armed with a rifle to go up there and shoot Bigfoot," Perry says. He admits he has no physical proof of his encounters, not a shred of hair or a clear photograph, but his tales are so compellingly detailed and vividly told that one can't help but glance over their shoulder just to make sure no shadowy figure is lurking nearby. Perry recalls his first encounter with the elusive Sasquatch back on September 12, 1946 at 10:30 a.m. on the Quesnel River in British Columbia. He speaks of it with such clarity that it seems the encounter could have happened just yesterday. Perry was paddling upriver in a canoe when he spotted what initially looked like a burnt tree stump, but as he approached he realized it was something far more extraordinary. He was easily 9 feet tall, Perry says. His body was like that of a well-developed man with no fat on it. The hair on his body was about like that of a black Angus cow. His eyeballs were black and his face had the look of black velvet, as did his hands. He had gray fingernails. The creature's heavy, black, bristly eyebrows and hair that rose to a point from his head gave it an otherworldly appearance. It had virtually no neck, adding to its monstrous silhouette. Man and beast stared at each other for what felt like an eternity, each studying the other with intense curiosity. Finally, the Bigfoot turned and loped off into the dense forest, disappearing into the shadows. Perry's more recent sightings have all taken place in Skamania County, an area known for its history of Bigfoot encounters. He believes the Sasquatches follow a regular route through these woods, surviving on a diet that includes skunk cabbage roots, Oregon grape, and perhaps small animals like rabbits and rodents. Sometimes they will come into a farmyard and make off with a small pig, Perry notes with a hint of amusement. One of Perry's most memorable sightings allowed him to estimate the creature's height. He saw a Sasquatch standing under a tree, and by measuring the branch under which it had stood, he determined the creature was 9.5 feet tall to its shoulder, with another couple of feet added for its head and hair. All the Sasquatches Perry has seen shared a similar bristly hair texture, but their colors ranged from black to brown, suggesting to him that there might be different species or variants of the creature. Perry has developed a theory over the years. He believes Sasquatch is not an ape or any other kind of animal, but rather a distant relative of humans, an offshoot of prehistoric man that failed to evolve along the same path. He thinks these creatures migrated north and are now primarily seen in colder climates. I consider Bigfoot a human, not an ape or other animal, he says. He is a cousin from our distant past. That is why I don't want to see him shot. Skeptics often ask why, if these creatures exist, they haven't been captured or photographed. Perry's answer is simple. The Sasquatch is incredibly shy and avoids humans. Loggers, hunters, and others who tromp through the woods make so much noise that the timid Sasquatch is frightened away, he explains. They can be watching us, and we'd never know they were there. In every encounter Perry has witnessed, Bigfoot has retreated slowly before vanishing into the thick brush, a ghost slipping back into the unknown. He claims to have found their beds, shallow depressions dug into soft ground where the creatures lie full length to rest. Despite his many close encounters, Perry laments that he has never had a camera ready at the right moment to capture definitive proof. As a token of his belief, he has created a plywood replica of Bigfoot, which now stands among the low bushes in his yard, a silent reminder of the mysterious encounters that continue to fuel the legend of Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest. As Perry's stories unfold, it becomes clear that for some, the legend of Bigfoot is far from a thing of the past. It's a living, breathing part of the wilderness, an enigmatic figure that may always remain just out of sight, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. And so, the legend of Bigfoot continues to weave its way through the dense forests and remote corners of North America. From the shadowy sightings in the Pacific Northwest to the terrifying encounters in Murfreesboro and beyond, Bigfoot remains an enigma, an elusive giant that haunts the imagination and stirs the soul. As long as there are dark woods and unexplored trails, stories of Bigfoot will endure, reminding us of the mysteries that still lurk just beyond the edge of the known world. If you enjoyed these tales of mystery and intrigue, please like and subscribe for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.